2 and 2.
Morning, everyone. My name is Eileen. I am from the Human Rights Commission. Mine is to just give a quick welcome and opening for day 2 of the Human Rights Commission's inquiry into road infrastructure in the Eastern Cape. We commenced yesterday with testimonies from stakeholders and affected communities and how the infrastructure is currently affecting them. And we are very thankful for all the stakeholders coming to the table. Today we're kicking off with Agri-EC, followed by the Amatola Mountain Escape Tourism Association, and thereafter we will be having a short tea break, followed by the Glora Mouth community. So without further ado, I would like to just state that we are currently live streaming on YouTube, and I'm going to give over to Commissioner Pilile Ntule to administer the oath, and then we will take proceedings from there. Thank you so much.
Do any of you have any objections to taking the oath this morning? And I will kindly ask you to stand, please. Please read your full names, surnames, institutions that you represent, as well as the positions you occupy for the record, please. Sorry. Into the microphone, please.
Hello. Yeah, so thank you very much. I am Gunther Pretorius. I am the Manager of Economics at Agri Eastern Cape.
Morning, Commission. I am Nicole Stander. I'm a practicing ongoing court litigation against the Provincial Department of Transport.
Thank you very much. Having indicated no objections to taking the oath, do you swear that the testimony you will give this morning will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, kindly raise your right hands and state for the record, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I will then, we will offer 20 minutes to deliver your presentation, and thereafter the panel will engage with you. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. So just to provide a brief overview of who Agri Eastern Cape is. We're a non-profit company representing 3,000 commercial farmers in the Eastern Cape. We are the provincial affiliate of Agri SA, who is our mother body, although we are two independent organizations, but they deal with matters on a national level, and we deal with matters provincially. And like I've already stated, I'm going to Pretorius. I'm the manager of economics and trade at Agri Eastern Cape, and roads infrastructure is one of the main portfolios that fall under my portfolio. And just to inform you, in order for our members to do what they do best, and that's farming, we as Agri Eastern Cape deal with matters on their behalf. And years back, there was a huge sense of frustration on ground level where our farmers couldn't access towns, couldn't get their produce to the markets, and there were regular engagements held with the Department of Transport where nothing happened, and there was a huge lack of communication. So we had no other choice than to turn to litigation. And with the ongoing processes that have been taking place, we compiled a roads report, and we got information back stating that more than 90% of our farmers rely on the roads infrastructure every day of their lives. And also more than 90% were affected by the roads infrastructure affecting them. So all of you are aware that agricultural produce is an essential good, and there are more than 16 million people in this country, and there are just plus minus 30,000 commercial farmers in this country that need to make sure that more than 60 million people can eat. So just to give you the broad overview of the importance of this whole thing.
Mr. Pretorius, sorry. 1 minute pause. We just want to make sure that the online audio is used to transcribe, and we use it as record when we do make our findings. So sorry to interrupt you. We just need to make sure, because you are the first session of the morning, it's the teething issues that we just need to get. Okay, so we are kicking off again and continuing with Mr. Pretorius from Agri EC from the Economics Department. Please continue, Mr. Pretorius.
So obviously we started experience. Thanks. So obviously, with compiling this whole report, we started to see that the problem's way bigger than we thought it was. Serious challenges with our farmers impacting them, and also getting mobile clinics to our farms, which is already a huge issue for us, for our farm workers, as well as our producers at the end of the day, and also for safety and security reasons, with farm patrols that couldn't take place because of the rural roads infrastructure. And I don't want to elaborate on the farm murders and all those things that have been taking place across the past few years. So that being said, is that a huge portion of their budget gets spent on Program 5, which is the EPWP program. And at the end of the day, we ask the question, we want to see the results as to what the EPWP program is. A predominant livestock province, is a to get to the market, feedlots, abattoirs, in order to get to the right location in order to be transported. And that has a huge effect on weight and pricing, and it's a whole circle that goes around. So with regular meetings being had, we experience that local contractors are not being used in a specific area. And knowing a specific area that you're dealing with and the specific roads you need to cover plays a huge role in the productivity and the standards that a road needs to be done, where we also saw that no follow-up completion of how a contract should work takes place at all. And then there was a third thing that I wanted just to add here, sorry, just missed it, by the department, because we did a survey with private contractors are aware of, but I mean paying half the money that you actually can for exactly the same job at the end of the day. But with regular engagements with the Department of Agriculture, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but the same problems are obviously being experienced there as well in the form of areas, which we see as an important area, but it's just unfortunate that we do not have farmers associations or representation there. So sorry, just to go back, Agri-Eastern Cape there. So sorry, just to go back, Agri-Eastern Cape has got 98 farmers associations, and within these 98, the 3,000 members are divided into. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to start by giving a brief overview of the timeline. We commenced, well, Agri-Eastern Cape commenced litigation against the Department of Transport. It's still ongoing today. Obviously, it's been several years of litigation, and there's a lot of information that can be shared, but I'll try to limit the issues as much as possible. And just for ease of reference, the respondents in those proceedings are the MEC and the Director General, but I'll just refer to them collectively as the Department of Transport. So we commenced litigation proceedings in 2015, and this was after numerous years of engagement, trying to avoid having to go the litigation route, and didn't yield any substantial improvements to the road infrastructure. So the Agri-Eastern Cape was left with no choice but to approach court. And what they sought was a structural or supervisory relief in terms of which the Department of Transport would be required to report being taken to address the road infrastructure and future steps to be taken with repair and maintenance of the roads within their jurisdiction. Initially, the department agreement, but they took an order by agreement, and it contained terms of a structural and supervisory order. 16th of May 2016, and reports were filed. The matter then came back before the court on the 10th of November 2016, and that was before she issued a detailed order after having considered the reports from the department, where it spoke to further repairs and maintenance that the department had to undertake in respect of identified roads, provisions relating to road repairs that could be conducted by individual farmers, and further reporting provisions. After that order was granted, maintenance, this is over and reporting on the negotiations with Treasury on possible solutions to address the road infrastructure, and that Agri would be allowed to make representations regarding the budget allocation. So what then transpired was that the department, after proposing and agreeing to the order, failed to sign the SCA agreement. And that led to a number of further court applications being brought to get them to sign the agreement which they had proposed. And eventually the court made an order authorizing a third application on the 2nd of May 2019, aimed at having the SCA agreement made an order of court. That came before Honourable Judge Bearshe, who ordered that the SCA agreement would be made an order of court, and the department was directed to file within 30 days a report on all maintenance carried out from the respond, and so then the parties agreed that they would redirect their focus to the supervisory proceedings. So Agri then filed a report, and this was the latest report filed in 2022, I believe, that where they highlighted certain issues, and these were that, you know, despite the parties litigating since 2015, the reality, the unfortunate reality, is that the road network the state of the road network is still declining. The department has not provided a constructive plan or solution to address the failing road network. They haven't, proposed any solutions regarding the budget issues identified by Agri Eastern Cape, such as misallocation and excessive expenditure, like Gunter Pretoria has highlighted. And also, you know, there were that Agri Eastern Cape would be able to provide input, or at least make representations which would be considered during budget allocation, but not allow them to participate. So, at that stage, you know, they were concerned that that a complete collapse of the relevant road network would be inevitable if urgent action isn't taken. Then one important part of the litigation, which I'll come back to, is that since the Robeson order and the subsequent agreement that was concluded in the SCA are in emergency situations where a road becomes completely untraversable, or where there's a safety risk by travelling on the road, that they would then be able to repair the roads at their cost. In his 2016 judgment, where he said, "There can be little doubt that the applicant's cause is indeed a worthy one. They seek to enforce and assert constitutional rights which may have far-reaching implications for other farmers, and a supervisory order or structural interdict, supervisory order is necessary." The budget is that, and as it was highlighted, the budget to be managed effectively, and it's not being stretched far enough. So the costing structures which we have received from the department, that we know are accepted and paid to contractors, are excessive when we look at private quotations that have been sourced, where the same work can be done at a much lower price. And just based on that, our instructions were that, you know, the 2 billion, just by way of an example, the 2 billion that was applicable to the 2018 and 2019 financial year, the work that was done from that 2 billion could have been stretched 4 times further on the road network. We also receive frequent reports regarding poor workmanship by the appointed contractors, and I think you'd probably be better placed to speak about that, but because Agri Eastern Cape receives reports on a weekly basis of poor workmanship, and that obviously raises concerns. And as we indicated, a substantial portion also goes to a job creation program, which the accessible, and such procedure is actually authorised or it's made provision for in Section 4 of the Eastern Cape Roads Act, where the MEC can enter into such agreements with other bodies and persons to undertake their own repairs. And without foregoing the argument about how the budget is managed, if immediate steps can't be taken to address emergency situations, then at the very least, what Agri Eastern Cape is asking is that there be an authorized procedure in place for individual farmers to repair the roads. And the thinking behind that is, these farmers use the roads daily. Their business interests rely on the functional operations of the road, or the functioning state of the road. And the farm workers who also, children can't go to school at times because school buses aren't willing to drive on the roads. Access to healthcare is also a major issue. Mobile clinics also aren't willing to drive on the roads because of the vehicle damage, or they get stuck, or there's a higher risk of accidents happening. But also affects service delivery in cases where the police need to get to farming areas, but the road infrastructure is such that it doesn't allow for a quick response. And yes, so regarding this emergency procedure, Agri Eastern Cape has actually received contradicting versions about whether a procedure exists or not. In 2018, it was indicated that there was no procedure that existed. In May of 2021, it was indicated that an integrated approach was being developed.
Thank you very much, Agri Eastern Cape. I'll now offer the panelists an opportunity to engage with you. I'll start with Dr. Fobose on my left, and thereafter Dr. Carter.
Right, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your excellent presentation, and thank you for coming forward. It is very much appreciated, and we can hear the challenges that farmers face. And it is not good that you represent about 3,000 farmers in the Eastern Cape and 98 Farmers Association. So if you can just share of these 3,000, how many in each district of the Eastern Cape, so that we know the exact numbers in each. So is it bad, too bad in all districts, the roads? So if I'm getting you correct, if you get me, sorry.
So obviously, like I mentioned, we've got representation from the 6 districts. Our biggest district, member-wise, by far is the biggest is Sahrc. I can't give you the exact figure at this stage. I will present it to you. And then our second biggest is Joe Garvey. And our third biggest district is Chris Harding. And fourth biggest is Amatole, and fifth biggest is Alfred and Zor. So in Alfred and Zor, we've actually only got one farmers association, which is in Cedarville. It's about 20 kilometers from the Natal border in the Eastern Cape side. So challenging-wise, ideal. Local municipalities, so we've got plus minus 3 to 4 farmers associations per local municipality that we got representation in. So in Alfred and Zor, let me start at the smallest. We've only got one farmers association, so I deal directly with them. So we've got a chairman of the Roads Forum, and then he's got a representative that's with him. So I deal with those people, and they deal with the farmer on the ground. Problem-wise, I get the most problems of them, probably because I deal with them the most, concern-wise, and we've also got a lot of dairy farmers in that area. So you have to take into consideration, if a cow's milk today, that milk needs to get to wherever it needs to be to get converted into whatever. So it's not a thing that's going to last for a week. So that's probably out of all of them, it's the lowest rainfall area. So obviously with all the rains we experience here on the coastal side, it's a Bobby area. Although then again there, it's a very mountain area. So, you know, to get a TLB or a bulldozer, whatever there out there, takes quite some time for the department to do that at the end of the day. I hope I've answered your question in some way. I'm scared, I can't provide facts downwards, upwards to downwards. Yeah.
No, thank you. You have. I know that you said you started litigation in 2015. Is it over 15 years or 20 years? How long has it been? And also, you mentioned that Agri-SA receives reports on poor workmanship. Can you just tell us more about that? Thank you.
100%. So it started in 2011. The whole issue on the road, he was not from the area. Since today, the Department of Transport arrived there to do the handover site, and from there, nobody's been there. Nobody's done quality control to see that the contract that was allocated is up to a certain standard. And that's where the quality control measures come in. And after that happened,